All right. Well, tonight is our last hearing night for safety and justice. We have two board members here right now, and we're going to go ahead and let our first agency in, which is Blue Sky Bridge. That I think there's Ivan. I don't know which Ivan we're allowing in. There's there was two Ivans. Ivan, there's somebody. You're also another one waiting in the lobby that says is you. Are you expecting anybody else?
No, just me. Well, Lisa
Well,
Gills,
Lisa's on.
I'm
she's on,
on,
great,
but
okay.
I need to see if I can get my camera on. Hold on one second. I was going a little too fast when all the different options came up and I hit no when I shouldn't have.
All right. All right. So while you're doing that, Lisa, hey, Mark, good to see you. Sorry, Ivan. Because this is your first time doing this, I'm just gonna go over a little bit of just some of the basics, right? So you're gonna have about 15 minutes to tell us what you're doing, and I'll talk more about that in a second. This meeting is being recorded and will be on the City of Longmont's YouTube page because it's technically a public hearing because we have 3 board members present right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce the board members that are here and staff that's here. Then I'm going to turn it over to you and Lisa to tell us exactly what you're applying for, what you're doing in Longmont. All right. So let me just introduce our board members. We have Mark and Cassie, and Rob is sitting in the conference room with Amy. And hey, Lisa. And you know me, Liberto Mendoza, Human Resources Program Manager. And with Rob is Amy, our program admin. So Ivan and Lisa, we'll turn it over to you. Tell us what you're applying for, what you're doing in Longmont, and if we have questions, we will ask them along the way.
Absolutely. And I do apologize for the lack of an image. Again, my fingers went too fast. Ivan, do you want me to start or would you like to?
Well, why don't you start, Lisa? You submitted the grant, so let's you go there and I can add some, color to it, shall we say?
That sounds great. Well, first of all, thank you all for giving us the opportunity to not only submit our application, but to be here tonight. Blue Sky Bridge has been operating in the Longmont area for 30 years. We are very active in 3 different program areas. One is child abuse intervention. When there is a case of reported abuse, we will provide services for the child victims, specifically forensic interviews that are then part of a multidisciplinary team cohort that involves detectives, social services, on down the line, so that the child is only having to tell their story once and avoiding any multiple trauma incidences that can occur. We also have a therapy program, which is part of the healing component. Excuse me, I failed to mention, we are also there for the families with family advocacy services that can include counseling, referrals, help with compensation, just kind of walking them through what, as you can imagine, would be an incredibly difficult path as they're trying to support their child or children. Then there's the healing component through the therapy program, which offers specialized trauma treatment through therapy. We offer 4 different modalities of therapy. We have a team of 4 therapists, all are part-time except for our director, that will then juggle the caseload. Last year, 60% of our therapy clients or victims were from the Longmont area. This year, it's a little closer to 50%. Last year, in terms of intervention, it was around 50%. The 3-year average for intervention is anywhere between 43 and 48% of all of our victim caseload. The third program.
Lisa, can I stop you real quick? Could
Sure.
you tell the board members that are here, what do you mean when you say intervention? That is, what does that look like?
Sure, absolutely. Intervention are the specific steps that happen when reported child abuse happens. So a call of reported child abuse comes in to protect the child so that they're not having to tell multiple people, whether at school, with the police department, their parents, their story and perhaps trigger additional trauma responses. What we do is for the child, there's a forensic interview in a room with audio and video recording equipment. All the key partners are in another room viewing it. We have a very highly skilled, and we had two very highly skilled and trained forensic interviewers. Right now we're actually hiring for one who will then interview the child, and in a way that is completely neutral, very child-centered. So even under these arduous conditions, they try their best to make the child feel comfortable. The multidisciplinary team is watching the whole thing. There's a break midway where the detectives or social services professionals, whoever's in the room, can ask specific questions, which then the interviewer takes and puts in what would work within the interview case. At the same time, they're also meeting with the non-offending family members and providing those other services that I was mentioning in terms of counseling, referrals, walking them through the investigative process. They are there with them from start to finish while the case is being investigated.
Okay.
Alberto, was that what you were hoping for?
Yeah, no, that's great. So for this grant, Ivan and Lisa, what specifically, when I look at your program budget, what specifically are you asking from this human services funding?
Sure. And I just wanted to say the last program area is prevention education. About 38% of the 7,100 students that we see each year are from the St. Vrain Valley School District area, and we're in about 76% of the schools in that area. We are asking for program support over all three areas because we are actively engaged in Longmont. Just intervention alone, if you were to take the cost to serve the, as I said, approximately 50% of our client base would easily exceed $300,000. If you add therapy on top of that, the cost to serve those families would be an additional $250,000, and that's just 1 year. So we're asking for $20,000 to help with that.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from, and somebody walked into the conference room. Love to know who's joining us.
Hi, Alberto. It's Councilwoman Diane Christ.
Oh, Councilwoman, thank you for joining us tonight.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. We have a special guest tonight. That's great. Any questions from the board? Because I do have a question, but I'll turn it over to the board first.
Yeah, I do, Alberto. For Lisa or Ivan, as far as the number of Longmont citizens that are being helped, the youth that are being helped, you said that it was a little over 7,000 total. So, and you said 50% from Longmont this year. So around 3,500. Is that a good number? Is that what I'm hearing?
Well, Mark, I'm so glad you asked that question because each of our program areas has a different pool of clients. What you heard was our prevention education number.
Okay.
And that is the number of students that we reach in one academic year in both Boulder Valley School District and St. Vrain Valley School District. And so for the St. Vrain Valley School District area, that number is more around 2,400. And that is where we go into the schools, both in kindergarten, third grade, and fifth grade. And we do body safety curriculum in a very positive, empowering way that teaches children how to identify trusted adults, to learn how to say no if something feels uncomfortable or awkward. And then the various steps. In third grade, they also have an opportunity. If there's any questions at all, the students can join our Blue Sky Bridge staff out in the hallway. They can ask anything as innocent as what they had for breakfast, or they can actually do a disclosure. Our team is trained. There's always a trained professional there who will then work with the school counselors and administration to make sure the appropriate reporting is done.
Okay.
For the other areas,
Yeah, maybe I missed this, but just one other thing before I forget is the location. Is it in Longmont? Is it all mobile, or how does that? Where is the staff located, or is it all mobile?
Ivan, you want me to keep
Yeah,
going since I'm on a
I'll
roll?
jump in on that one.
Okay.
So, hi, Mark. Thank you for being here tonight. Thank you for everybody. So, we currently have a rented leased facility in Longmont on Kaufman Avenue. However, we still have a large majority of the guest customers that we see coming from Longmont come to the Blue Sky Bridge office in Boulder. And we understand that that's a sort of a 30-minute drive one way. You've then got, well, let me go back one stage. If you're coming for forensic interview, everybody comes to the Boulder location because that's a one-time interview situation. If you are then assessed and we feel that therapy is important for the child and for the child's family, then we try to meet them wherever we can. But as Lisa said, with over 50% of the kiddos that we have, we can't meet them all in our one facility in Longmont. So some do come to our Boulder facility. We are currently looking to expand. Basically, we're on a lease there. We're looking to end that lease, but we're looking to work with the TLC Early Learning Center in Longmont. Because as you know, they're building a new facility down on Ken Pratt and 3rd Avenue. We're looking to take space within that building because it's much more conducive to the families that we serve. It's a much nicer, or will be a much nicer facility. It has a local bus stop. It has plenty of parking. And there's great synergy between what TLC does and Blue Sky Bridge does in trying to help the community that we're serving here who are going through some very difficult times in their lives. So that's where we are situated at the moment. And hopefully the facility in the TLC building will be, sometime in the next 12 to 18 months.
All right. So I know that, Martha's here. Cassie, go ahead, ask your question. We're kind of coming toward the end of our time, but go ahead and ask your question.
Okay.
And welcome,
So
Martha. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, Martha. So if you have to split between, I guess, sort of prevention and then the other services, how is that split? And if you don't have enough funding, do you have to put prevention on the back burner and do the intervention, or how would you make those decisions?
Again, Lisa and I may have a different opinion on that, but we would definitely be looking to use the money that you are providing for us now to deal with the immediate needs of the children that we're dealing with. Prevention is ultimately something that we feel we want to get more investment into because the numbers are frightening in the terms of what it will cost the community for someone who goes through some traumatic situations like this. But for next year, we are definitely looking for front loading it with regards to intervention, with regard to therapy. And if we have monies left over, then yes, we're certainly going to be putting it into the prevention situation.
And so Cassie kind of jumped on my question real quick, and we got about a minute left because we have our next. These go by fast every year. But just really quickly, Ivan, I read your application. I read the challenges about federal funding. Just wondering where you are all as an agency in your strategic planning around responding to those cuts and what's in the near future.
Well, we're very aware of the cuts that have been made. We've been fortunate enough. We recently had a gala event that exceeded our expectations, which was based around community donations, which was good. We have a wonderful development team who's working incredibly hard, which Lisa is a part of, to get grants, foundations, reach out to more in the community, because we understand that government grants are going to be something that continues to, I think, become less available in the near future. So we're looking at lots of other options as to how we can make certain we get the sufficient funding to ensure we can still provide the services to the children and families within our community.
Awesome. So our time is up. Thank you, Ivan and Lisa, for joining us tonight. Really appreciate it. if the board has any follow-up questions, I will follow up with you.
That sounds great. I did just want to answer Mark's question super fast. There are about 110 child victims that will receive intervention services in our projections for 2026.
All right. Thank you so much. Have
Thank
a
you
good
very much,
evening.
everybody. We really
Thank you.
appreciate your support, and we look forward to working with you again. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Good evening. Goodbye.
All right. Bye. All right, Amy. So I think Bruce is Bridge to Justice next. All right, and so I think he's in the waiting room. If you want to let him in, that would be great. Hey, Bruce.
Good evening. How's everyone doing?
Good, good. Bruce, you're an old hand at this, but I'll just remind you that this is being recorded. It's a public meeting, and it'll be on our City of Longmont YouTube page. I'm going to quickly introduce our board members and our special guest tonight and introduce staff, and then I'm going to turn it over to you to tell us what you're applying for. So let me start with our board. We got Martha Wilson, who's our vice chair. We got Mark Scissor, a new board member. Cassie's been a board member for a while. And so, and in the conference room, we got Rob, who's been a board member for quite a while as well. And we got our special guest tonight, Diane Chris, who is a council member on the city council. And we're excited to have her here tonight. And you got me and Amy from Human Services staff to help facilitate this process. All right, Bruce, tell us what you're applying for, what you're asking for in the Human Services funding from Longmont, and what you do.
Sure. Well, good evening, everyone. Thanks for having me. I'm the founder and executive director of Bridge to Justice. We're a 501c3 nonprofit law firm based in Boulder. We've been in existence since 2013, and our mission is to bridge the gap between legal needs and legal access with affordable, high-quality legal services. So we provide free and reduced rate legal services to low-income and moderate-income clients. We do assist clients outside of Boulder County, but for purposes of this grant, all grant funding would be applied towards City of Longmont residents. We are applying for grant funding under the safety and justice category to support our family law project. And so that includes work on pre and post-decree family law cases, including contested divorce, custody cases, which in Colorado are called allocation of parental responsibilities, and civil protection order cases. We have a team of 6 attorneys, including myself. I'm a practicing family law attorney, and we appear in Boulder District Court, Boulder County Court to represent clients on a pretty regular basis. Like I said, in contested divorce and custody and civil protection order cases, and funding would be applied to support our ability to continue charging reduced rates to eligible clients. So we're currently charging $125 an hour to $145 an hour to clients who qualify based on their income and assets. Our income qualification is tied to the area median income in Boulder County. So we're using the low income metric, which is defined as 80% of AMI in Boulder County. As I'm sure most of you know, Boulder County has a fairly high area median income. So essentially, we're representing folks earning roughly 400% of the federal poverty guidelines and below. And as a point of reference, legal aid is generally assisted clients earning 125% of poverty and below. And that's by design. So we're trying to capture a larger segment of the low and moderate income population. Basically, our clients are individuals who don't qualify for free legal aid, but can't afford a private market rate attorney. And that's about what we're seeing, about 70 to 75% of the population. And that's consistent with the data corresponding to the number of people who don't have an attorney in family law cases in Boulder. It's roughly 70%.
Awesome. So, of course, I will allow, I'll turn it over to the board, see if they have any specific questions about your work. I'm not seeing any from. All right. So talk to me about the kind of work that you do. You do any of the kind of housing work in Longmont that you do in Boulder, or is it primarily just Boulder that you do your housing work?
So we've been sending at least one attorney to the county court in Longmont every Friday morning for the last couple of years. I believe the eviction docket was recently moved to Boulder. I think
Yeah, I
that's a
heard about that.
change.
Yeah, that makes it hard for some folks from Longmont to have to go to Boulder instead of the court here in Longmont. That's a challenge.
Yeah, but we've gotten county funding to represent City of Longmont tenants facing eviction the last
Oh, that's
couple of
awesome.
years. Yeah, so we have been assisting essentially most Boulder County residents facing eviction. We've been doing that work for the last 5 years. I would note we just received word from the city of Boulder yesterday, actually, that they're not renewing our contract next year. This
For
is
EPRIS or just a regular one?
just the EPRIS contract.
Oh wow, that's news to me.
Yeah, so that's an unfortunate development. We still are receiving county funding. We've reached out to our contact, Mika Delgado at the county, to see if our county funding is going to be renewed. That's an open question. So at the very least, we're going to have to significantly scale back our eviction defense work next year.
Wow, that's huge.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions from the board?
Well, maybe it's obvious, but you can't do the eviction. I mean, why did you lose the contract? It was just money? Just
What
money?
what I was told is that the city conducted an internal review of each of their departments to see where they could save money, and that they've decided to staff the project in-house rather than contract with a third-party contractor.
Thank you.
So
Sure.
funding, maybe moving that funding to their mediation program, potentially?
Potentially, they told me that they plan on hiring 2 part-time attorneys, totaling 40 hours a week.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
I don't know how that's going to work with conflicts, because one of the biggest landlords in Boulder is Boulder Housing Partners, excuse me, which is partially owned by the city. So
Yeah.
I'm not exactly
We'll
sure
see how
how
they
that's
figure it
going to
out.
work. Yeah.
So you are projecting to serve 50 people in the city of Longmont, 50 households, not people. There be multiple people in a household. Is that more or less than you projected last year? And where are you at this point?
I'm not sure what our projected totals were last year. So the 50 City of Longmont clients, that's just for our family law program that we're
Okay.
applying for funding for. I don't know, to be honest, whether that's comparable or less than our numbers last year. I could look at that,
Okay.
and if you want, I could get back to you about that.
I'd be interested in knowing. I know you do a lot of work with in Longmont with the family stuff, but I would appreciate that.
Sure.
Any other questions from the board?
I had a question surrounding how y'all are working with some of the either unhoused or undocumented folks. It wasn't clear, especially because in family law, like you can represent one parent, but not the other.
Right.
I was just curious about how you pick which one.
So really, our clients choose us when it comes to our family law program. So clients apply for services typically through our website, and we have an intake process to determine eligibility as well as to screen out any potential conflicts. So yeah, it's typically, how a traditional law firm works in that regard, that clients reach out to us, and then we just determine if they qualify for services and we have no conflict. We don't screen for immigration status So that's not a requirement that we're subject to, which is one of the ways that we're different than legal aid, since they receive a lot of federal funding. They have some pretty stringent requirements when it comes to serving undocumented folks.
Right.
So that's really not our focus. Our focus is on, assisting our clients in various family law related issues. But in terms of unhoused clients, like Eliberto mentioned, we've been the sole legal provider for the City of Boulder no eviction without representation program for the last 5 years. And we've also been receiving county and state funding to serve clients outside of Boulder as well, in Longmont and other parts of Boulder County.
Yeah, and the City of Boulder paid that through their EPRIS, which is a fee that they charge on landlords for that. That's how they pay, or how they have been paying for that.
Right.
Rob, do you have a question?
Yes, given the economy such as it is, inflation, prices of rentals and stuff, in the areas that you serve, has there been a noticeable increase in one over the other?
We have seen an increase in eviction filings, probably the last 12 to 18 months, and that also coincided with the sunsetting of a lot of the pandemic era subsidies to renters. A lot of those policies and protections went away the last couple of years. Generally speaking, there's always a significant demand for our services. I've been doing this work for about 12 years. We're generally serving an unmet need in the community. There aren't a lot of other agencies doing the work that we're doing. Legal aid, they're serving their niche, but like I said earlier, we're capturing a larger segment of the low-income population. So the demand is pretty much always there. I am concerned about financial hardship on our clients next year with the cutbacks in Medicaid, the Affordable Care Act subsidies are probably going to go away. So I think that's going to heighten the need for our services. But really, there's always kind of a baseline level of demand, just given that we're serving an unmet need in the community.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions for Bruce? If not, Bruce, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it. Thank you for the work that you do throughout the county and in Longmont. If the board has any follow-up questions, I will let you know.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
So we should have Rachel was here earlier, and I think they're next, right? Colorado Legal Services. Yeah. So hopefully she'll join again. She was here. She got here a little early, so we got a minute before she needs to start. So, Councilmember Chris, these nights go by very quickly. A lot of questions are asked. A lot of answers are provided. The board does great in getting us through these evenings and having these conversations with these applicants. So excited to have you here. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask them as well.
Thank you, Eliberto. And I'm interested to see the process because I know, you had tweaked it, or you had talked to us about tweaking your rubric. And
yeah, the biggest tweak, and I think the biggest tweak that we did this year, and we'll see how it works. Once I get all the scores in, we'll see how we decided to put some limits, like create buckets, and we're going to see what that means for this year, and how that's going to change. We didn't make a lot of huge changes because the board was, after we met with you, we brought it back to the board. We did add a collaboration question based on some of the comments that you all made that the board is evaluating now, but also because of the economic, and Rachel's here, because of the economic thing, we decided not to make huge changes this year. I think those are going to come probably next year, and we'll go back to you about that as well. But want to welcome Rachel from Colorado Legal Services. Thank you for joining us. Rachel says, I think this is your first time with us. I will let you know that this is a public meeting. because we have 3 or 4 board members here, and we actually have a guest council member here. We're excited about that. So I'm going to introduce the board and our special guest, and then I'm going to turn it over to you to tell us what Colorado Legal Services is asking for in our human services funding to serve Longmont. So let me start with the board first. I want to start with our vice chair, Martha Wilson is here, and then we have Mark and Cassie and Rob, who are, Mark, this is his first year. Rob and Cassie have been doing it for quite a while. We also have Councilmember Diane Christ here this evening. And then me and Amy are staff, and we help facilitate this process. And so we're just going to turn it over to you, Rachel. Tell us what you're doing in Longmont, what you're specifically asking the money for, and then we may have questions along the way.
Okay, great. Can everybody hear me okay? Yeah, okay. Thanks. Thanks for having me. As you mentioned, this is my first time appearing before this group. My name is Rachel Kunith. I'm the managing attorney here at the Boulder office with Colorado Legal Services. And I have been in this position since January, so new as well. I'm happy to take questions. Please jump in. I'm not exactly sure what you're looking for me to talk about, other than what's in the application that we submitted. I can kind of describe to you what Colorado Legal Services does generally, and anything that I say about our general work is going to apply to what we do for folks who live in Longmont. So Colorado Legal Services is a private nonprofit law firm. We get the bulk of our funding from the state of Colorado, but we also get a pretty sizable chunk from the federal government, from the Legal Services Corporation, and then a substantial amount from the local area. We get funds from the 20th Judicial District through their AVAIL program, and we get funds through this award process, as well as the City of Boulder and a couple other little smaller things. But these are sizable amounts of money, and anything that we receive goes directly to funding our work, mostly by paying our employees. We, generally speaking, all of the grants that we apply for, we are applying for employee salaries and benefits, not so much, rent, computers and stuff like that. So what we do as a law firm is, as I said, we're a nonprofit law firm. All of our clients that we work with are low-income folks, and we are going through the requirements of the Legal Services Corporation, which puts a ceiling on the amount of money that our clients can have in their household and the amount of assets that they can have in their household. So all of our clients are very low income. They are underneath 200% of the federal poverty level. And so I usually explain that to mean that if you qualify for something like food stamps or probably TANF, then you're very likely to qualify for services from Colorado Legal Services. So so that's our criteria. We don't charge attorneys fees at all to any of our clients. Everything we do is absolutely free of charge. So we do direct representation of clients in civil legal matters. So that can range anything from defending against an eviction, helping a senior prepare a will or an estate plan, working with victims of domestic violence to get a divorce or a protection order, and also helping our clients with any type of problems they may have with qualifying for public benefits, SNAP, TANF, A&D, OAP, Social Security, the acronym soup of public benefits. So we work on all those types of cases. And so all of that I just said applies to folks who are residents of the City of Longmont. Roughly 40% of our clients come from Longmont overall.
So you projected in your application to serve about 130 households here in Longmont. Is that pretty typical? Is that an increase?
That's based on past years. So it'll vary a bit, kind of depending on the amount of money that we get from all sources. The less money we get, the less work that we're able to do, just kind of overall. our services scale in that way. You know, the fewer dollars we have to spend, the less work that we can do. The good news is that even if our staff were to get smaller, we potentially could continue to help the same number of folks because we do have a very large, wide reach with volunteers in the community. Our office works with over 24 attorney volunteers who will agree to take a case that we refer to them and work that case free of charge, you know, pro bono. So even if, you know, for example, our staff can't help a client directly, we can potentially and probably find a volunteer attorney to work with that client for free.
Awesome. Any questions from the board? Oh, Rob has a question. Oh, wait, you're on mute, Rob.
In the budget cuts and all that's going on. Are you
Rob,
seeing
sorry,
an increase in the various categories that you represent, people that you have to deal with that you hadn't
Rob,
expected?
Can you
I'm
start
sorry,
over?
Rob. Yeah, you were muted. Could you start over, please?
I'm saying that given the economy and budget cuts and all that, has she noticed a change in the category and the numbers of people under different categories that come in that you have to anticipate or at least expect increases?
Yes, definitely. So as I said, our main way that we know whether we can help someone is based upon that household's income. So as folks lose jobs or lose hours at jobs, more people become eligible for our services, and there's more of a demand on our services. So we do what we can. Sometimes we have to provide a lower level of service. So instead of maybe representing the person and going to court with them, we may provide them some forms and help them fill them out so that they can represent themselves. We may send them to our clinic. We have a clinic who works with domestic relations cases where folks represent themselves, but they have the support of an attorney in the background. Or we simply may just be able to only provide some advice to the client and not be able to represent them. So the answer is absolutely yes. And we also are anticipating a lot more calls to our office, given that public benefits may come to a halt November 1st. And so we're preparing ourselves with resources to provide to those folks who have lost their food stamps. So yes.
All right, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Mark.
Yeah, hi, Rachel. How does, just a question on the access, how does a citizen resident of Longmont access your services initially? Is it all website intake? Is it calling the, I mean, how do they get, I mean, do they just do a Google search for assistance? How do they get first access?
Yeah, all of the above. We do have an online application process. We get quite a few clients that way. Most folks actually just call and make an application over the phone. Colorado Legal Services is a statewide law firm. And so to help with the application process, we have a special unit who all they do is applications, and then they refer them out to the local office for assistance. In addition to that, we have a system set up with several of the domestic violence assistance agencies. Safe Shelter will send us what we call warm referrals, so that the client, for example, will be working with an advocate at Safe Shelter. The advocate will realize they have a legal problem and will send this referral to our office, and that avoids the client having to try to go through the intake process personally. We can just then reach out to that client because we've got that referral process set up. So it saves a lot of time and kind of frustration on the client's part. And then the last thing is that occasionally we will go to someone's home. We'll go to an elder or disabled person's home if we need to be able to get the application processed.
Awesome, thank you. So, Rachel, so I have a question as well. So the board really looks at the program, making sure it's aligned with the City of Longmont priorities, and you're falling under safety and justice, which looks at representation and all that. My job as staff is I'm looking at your finances, looking at your audit, looking at things like that. And I guess the one concern I have, I mean, you've been around for a long time, you're a very sustainable organization, but we are looking at some potentially difficult federal cuts. Are you all looking at that, and what is your leadership, your board thinking about when it comes to that?
Right, and honestly, that is a perpetual problem that of legal services because of it being funded by Congress. I've been working for legal services for almost 23 years, and there have been scary moments before, like we are in now. So because of that nature, the nature of that we just can't count on it, even though we do. But our executive director, Matt Baca, has made a very concerted effort to expand our funding base and to bring in money from non-federal sources so that question mark is kind of lessened. I think I said at the beginning that I believe it's 35 or 40% of our budget comes from the federal source. That used to not be the case. In years past, it would be more like 75%. So we were very susceptible to a cut really hurting us. So we are planning for that. We are looking for ways to get money, fill those gaps should they come. And at the same time, we are confident, as much as we can be, that we won't get a cut or we won't get a very painful cut. Historically, legal services has stayed fairly stable in funding. We haven't been zeroed out, even though various presidents have requested a zero on their budget. Congress has actually kept us pretty level, or many times given us a modest increase.
Awesome. Mark, you still have your hand up. Do you have another question? Oh, okay. Anybody else have a question for, we got a couple of minutes left. Martha?
I had a more of a comment, really. For your percentage of staff, that was a very high percentage of people of color, more than 50%, which is huge. You don't see that typically anywhere. And I was curious about what all the other languages, like it's just checked other languages. Mm-hmm. What languages do your staff members serve?
Well, I can't speak for the whole of the state agency, but here in Boulder, we have one staff member who is Spanish, English, bilingual, and native speaker. But to address the needs of the community, we have access to a very, very good on-demand interpretation system. You can do a video call with a client, and they can, I mean, any language you can think of, they can find an interpreter, and it's fantastic. So we can serve the needs of anybody who comes. We've had clients from the Czech Republic, Russia, Ukraine, all over the place in the short amount of time that I've been here. So it's been fantastic to have that service.
Is that, like, I wouldn't necessarily count an interpretation service in a staff member. Mm-hmm. Was that counted?
No, I don't think so. I'm saying that I only know about the people who I supervise and what languages they speak. Throughout the state, I know that we have many other languages available, and we use that to our advantage. You know, we have a process internally where a staff member can become qualified with our agency to do document translation, and so that way we can provide the client something that they may need in their own language through a staff member without necessarily having to pay, you know, an outside service to do that translation.
I would just get curious because we butt up against Weld, which has a lot of high population of refugees, and I just get curious because some end up over here. trading around in the unhoused shelters and whatnot.
Sure.
Yeah. All right. So we are at time. Want to thank you, Rachel, for your first time. You did great. Thank you for showing up and talking about Carl Legal Services. If the board has any follow-up questions, I will follow up with you. So have a great rest of your night.
Thank you. Have a good night, everyone.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and let Lisa in. Lisa, Riley's been trying to get in. You can let her know she can jump in right now. It's fine. This is a special case in the sense that you have two programs. So you have 30 minutes and we put you in safety and justice, and you could have been in self-sufficiency as well. We just made this not to have to make you come back 2 nights. So we just put you in 1 night. But so let me just go quickly introduce who's here. You've done this before, so you know how it goes. It's being recorded. I'm going to introduce our board members, and we got a special guest tonight that we're excited about. And then we will turn it over to you to tell us what you're applying for. Again, you got 30 minutes because you have 2 programs. We don't have to use all those 30 minutes, but we have them. But let me start introducing our board first. First of all, we got our vice chair, Martha Wilson, is here. Then we got board member Mark, Cassie, and Roberts in the conference room. And they've been Mark, this is his first year. Cassie and Robert have been doing this for a while. And then we have our special guest, Councilmember Diane Christ, is in the conference room as well. And then, of course, you know me and Amy, we are staff. We help facilitate this process. So let's start. Why don't you tell us first your new program, and then after we go talk about that for a bit, we'll go into your navigation program or your case management program. Let's talk about the attorney program. Why don't you tell us about what specifically you're applying for that, and then we can go on to the other one.
Hey, Liberto, since we have so much time, can I take a few minutes and give an introduction to the organization?
Oh, of course, yeah.
And I do have a tiny PowerPoint if you want me to show it. If not, I don't.
Yeah, of course.
I can just do it without it. Okay.
Yeah,
so
no,
I can
feel free to share
share.
it. That's fine. Some folks do, some folks don't. That's totally fine.
Oh well, got to keep everybody guessing, including me. Okay, so that's sharing. You see a screen with our logo on it.
Yeah, it's working.
Yes. Okay, great. Okay. But will the screens turn? This is a question. There we go. Okay, so El Comité has been around since 1980 in Longmont, and it was founded in response to a police shooting of 2 Chicano men on Main Street in the summer of 1980. And it was founded by community members, Latino and non-Latino folks who came together to make sure that the lives of the young men weren't in vain. So for 45 years, El Comité has been educating, and supporting and connecting Latino community members to make sure that Longmont is every year more of a welcoming city to all of the residents that live here. These days, we do 4 things. We have walk-in case, what we call case management services. We have 3 bilingual, bicultural case managers who literally help people with whatever problem they come in our doors with. This means that our case managers have a really broad range, both of knowledge and response. They can help people find basic needs. We have direct assistance funds right now. So we help people with rent and utilities, which is the bulk of what people tend to ask for, but also for legal fees, both for court fees and for applications for immigration processes. Some people lately have been asking to get home, so we can help them leave the country if that's what they want with those funds. There's our grant funds from a foundation. And then we help people advocate for themselves in systems We translate things officially and unofficially. Someone will come in with a letter that they can't read because it's in English, or they can't read because they can't read, and we help them understand that. But people also ask for official translations. We have notaries on staff. We help people start businesses, close businesses, get married, get divorced, get their workers' comp, get connected to attorneys. We have a lot of people who come in because they are victims of wage theft, where they worked a job, mostly subcontractors, and the person who hired them refuses to pay them. And in fact, in 2024, which was my first year in this job, I started counting the amount of money that people had reported having not been paid. And in May of 2024, it was over $120,000. And the majority of our participants are extremely low income. So it's a huge burden on them. And it's also largely a Longmont problem. It isn't a problem that exists as much in the rest of the county. We handle a lot of domestic violence cases. Our staff will often go to court with people so they can get protective orders. We help people get ITINs, driver's licenses. The second thing we do is, and this is something we've done historically since the organization was founded, is help people access trusted attorneys. Historically, we have always had relationships with for-profit attorneys in the community who donate their time pro bono so that they can do consults in our office. And then if the participants choose to contract with those attorneys, that's at a market rate, and that's between the participant and the attorney. So we have always had immigration attorneys, criminal defense attorneys, and civil attorneys doing consults in our office. And then as of the first of this month, we have our own immigration attorney who has significant expertise in defensive representation for immigration court. We also have a small adult education program. So we have 2 levels of ESL classes, which is now 2 beginner course classes and 1 advanced level class. They're 5-week sessions, and they get 2 classes a week, and we charge $25 per session. And then we have free GED and citizenship test prep classes available as well. And then we always do a bunch of community outreach. In the past, every year we've had a big health fair, but this year it didn't seem wise to gather the community in a big wide open space. And so we instead have focused on doing monthly Know Your Rights presentations and family emergency preparedness workshops. One of the major things that have impacted our work this year, I know, I can see your eyes, Mark. Yes, it's a lot and you can't read it. And the reason that this is the case is because there have been almost 500 changes to immigration law and policy since January 20th. And all of these changes impact the people that we serve. And I decided in January that I was just gonna put as many of these on one slide as I could so that it became more and more like Willy Wonka's contract, where it just turned into teeny tiny font. And it is now teeny tiny font. And most of these, I mean, this is not even all of them. This is the extent to which I can track things. And a couple of months ago, it got to a point where it's harder for me to even track all the details. But some of these things have had very significant and direct impact on the people we serve, including, for example, folks who were here legally on parole programs or TPS programs and have had those programs have been eliminated, and those people were left high and dry. So helping them make decisions and figure out what they're going and what they want to do and whether they can apply for asylum or they have other options is all become a part of our work these days. So in 2024, between all of our programs, we served 3,257 unduplicated participants and 3,744 services overall. So some of those were individuals, came from multiple things. And in 2025 to date, just at the end of September, actually, we're at 2,404 unduplicated participants and 3,133 services. Also this year, El Comité has implemented a participant database. So Eliberto, you may be excited to see how this impacts our ability to report out and eventually get to evaluation. We, with the help of many volunteers, will have 3 years of data in that database, hopefully by the end of the year. We now have 2. And then we also rebranded, so we have a new logo and we are building a new website, which should launch by the 31st, God's willing. We're also implementing before the end of the year a new communications platform that will allow us to send text to all of our participants, and it is app-based, so if we can get people to adopt the app, then we can provide a lot more information to them on a regular basis. El Comité has always been much more analog and transactional, so folks who come in our doors are the ones that we're able to share information with. But as people get more and more afraid to actually come to a place in a parking lot that's designated for services for immigrants, it's really more important that we figure out how to reach out to people and share information. In our work in the last couple of years, things that we have noticed is that in Boulder County, there is very little access to immigration attorneys to do defensive work at an affordable rate. So what I mean by defensive work is anyone who's facing an order of removal, anyone who's in expedited removal, or anyone who has an order of deportation, which is going to be an increasing number of people, whether it's justified or not. So if you are low income and the price for a defensive immigration attorney starts at 10 to 15K and goes up from there, and that's something that your family can afford, right now there is no place to go. You're going to sit in detention until you are sent someplace else. So this is something that we thought it was the only place to go right now is CU Law School Immigration Defense Clinic. But it's a fabulous but small program, and they only take a handful of cases. They have had added another attorney to their program, but it's still nowhere. They take cases from across the state, so even adding another attorney doesn't guarantee more access for Boulder County residents. So that's why we have added an immigration attorney with extensive defensive experience to our staff so that we can fill that gap. Another thing that we've noticed is that with the safety net cuts that both the state and the feds have passed on to the county, we believe that there's going to be really limited access for families that are detention impacted. So we expect in the next, in 2026 to begin to return to our organizing roots as an organization and help figure out how to create and expand mutual aid systems of support for in detention impacted families in particular. So the responsive work for what we see going on is our monthly Know Your Rights and Family Emergency Preparedness workshops so that our participants know how to protect their families and their assets given what's going on. We added the immigration attorney to our staff. We'll be working on developing mutual aid responses and then our communications platform. So as Eliberto said, we do have 2 proposals in front of you. One was to the category of economic stability, mobility, and resilience. That request is $59,506, covers 5% of my salary, 38% of our lead case manager's salary, 22% of our 2 other case managers' salaries, and 33% of our receptionist positions. We expect next year to at least serve 2,400 Longmont residents, and as this year is any indication, I suspect it'll be significantly more. And then at least 300 people having access to the attorneys that we specified who come in and do consults here in the office. And then we have your Safety and Justice Project. That request is $15,000, which is the same amount that was granted to us out of the council contingency fund. That covers 18% of the staff attorney's salary. And expected outcomes for that are 2 to 4 pro se clinics for at least 50 asylum seekers, 500 consults in 2026, and at least 50 low-income legal clients represented. And I think, oh, there's only one more. So this is the new logo from the rebrand.
Awesome.
Really?
Any questions from the board about either, since she covered both programs, either program we can ask about at this point? And do you mind stop sharing?
Yep.
Yeah, so we can see each other better. Thank you, Lisa. Appreciate it.
Sure.
Martha.
I had a question about systems advocacy. It was on one of the slides.
Mm-hmm.
Is that criminal, civil, family, all of the above? I just wanted to.
It's really, that's a great question. It's really just any system that the problem somebody brings in the door resides in. So if somebody comes in and they're about to be evicted and they want help avoiding eviction and working that, system, we will work with them to bring neighborhood services into the problem and work with the landlords to figure out how it can be resolved. A totally wacky example is one day about a year or so ago, someone came in and they had bought a dryer or a washing machine at Home Depot and it never worked and they had a warranty and they had not been able for over a year to get that warranty honored. So we step in and we help them get that warranty honored. So that's what we mean by it.
Okay, thank you.
I see, Amy, I see Rob has a question. If you can unmute your guys, that'd be great. Amy. Rob has a question.
Sorry, Rob, can you start over? Rob, can you start over, please? I had to unmute you. Can you start over?
I said, it seems that undocumented people in this country have no laws protecting them. And I'm wondering, just you're adding a lawyer to do this, and there doesn't seem to be any laws that he can use to help these people. They're just grabbed and sent out, out of the country. And I'm just wondering, what can he do?
Well, first of all, I would say it's not just undocumented people, right? It's really, the Supreme Court made it clear that racial profiling and immigration enforcement is allowed. So really anybody, including citizens, are at risk of being detained. So what can an attorney do? An attorney can actually, do a lot. There are still cases being won. There are still citizenship applications being awarded. There are still residency green cards being awarded and work permits being awarded, which means that people can still apply for them. When rights are violated, if people know their rights, an attorney can actually step in and help them win their case. But people have to know their rights and be able to say that their rights have been violated. Always in the immigration system, people with attorneys do much better than those without attorneys. And of course, then poor people are the ones that don't have attorneys. That isn't to say that we expect to win all these cases. Hans Meyer just took, with the ACLU and other organizations, just won a case, and I haven't looked at the details of it yet, so I don't know how long before it's appealed and how far it's going to go, but which reopened, the outcome reopened the access to bail, which lately folks in detention haven't had access to. So there's a lot, and honestly, even if things get to where you actually described them, if you're wealthy, you get an attorney. If you're not wealthy, you don't get that, and you go through the system without anybody caring. And I think that one of the most important things in terms of belonging in our community is that people need to realize and understand and feel like they aren't alone. And if we can't do anything else but make sure no one has to go through this alone, then I can live with that.
Cassie.
Thank you.
So I think it's small, but you mentioned sort of an ESL program, and I know there are other ones offered in the community. So
Yep.
have you thought of collaborating more with the other organizations rather than having your own, or
Oh,
did you?
we've had our own for probably longer than many of the other organizations have
Okay.
existed. Our services our classes are usually full. If they weren't, I would be totally open to that, but we still have full classes.
Okay, thank you.
I don't see any indication that it's needed.
Any other questions from the board?
So I typically work with parents who have open child welfare cases, and because of background checks and all the hoopla, we are very much trying to push families to prepare with a power of attorney so they can just
Yep.
give that instead and actually have their child who's Spanish speaking go to a relative rather than stranger care with white people who don't speak their language. Is that something that is covered in your know your rights stuff?
That's exactly what our family emergency preparedness workshops do. They walk people through, and there's different booklets. The county has a booklet, CERC has a booklet. There's another great one from an organization called Appleseed, all of which will be on, all three of those will be on our new website. But we walk people through making those decisions and give them all the information they need to write the power of attorneys and let them know that if they have significant assets, if they want to meet with a civil attorney, they could come in and do that in our office. But we also have the notaries available to notarize it on the spot if they bring the paperwork in. But yeah, no, that is absolutely one of the most important things people can do. It's also really hard conversation for people to have, as you know.
Awesome, thank you.
So Lisa, as you know, I mean, the board looks at your applications. I look at your applications as well. I look at different things that the board does. I really stick to the agency level, finance budget level. And one, I want to, comment that you've done a good job of taking El Comité to that next level. And just want to learn, you've increased your budget, and I just want to know, kind of like, how is that transitioning going? I read that you have a new actual fundraising, or what did you call it, development committee in your application.
Finance committee.
Finance. Okay, sorry. And so I'm excited about that. I get excited about organizational capacity. It's kind of what I studied, and I love it. And so talk to me more about that. Where is the comité on that piece?
So when I started in 2024, as you know, we were a bit in the red. And El Comité did not have an individual donor base. So I invested immediately in someone who could help me learn how to do that. And through basically the newsletter that I write, we've managed to increase our individual donor base exponentially. Our end of year Colorado Gives in 23 was around, I think, 12,000, if not less than that, 6 or 12,000. And at the end of 24, it was over 100,000. That's just year end. This year we've held two fundraisers. Our first fundraisers, our first run in the spring was 20,000. And then we just held one last week, which raised over 80K. And in 2024, our only fundraiser raised $11,000. So we've worked very hard at building our individual donor base, and that means that a significant portion of the funds that we raise are flexible, which is exactly what we need in this world as it stands. The flip side of that is that if the economy tanks and we end up in a significant inflationary or stagflation economy, that's also going to be something that we feel. So honestly, between now and when that happens, we are going to try and raise everything we can. I can tell you that we expect to begin 2026 with at least a 3-month reserve. And that includes with our, expanded staff with the attorney, and we'll probably add at least one more full-time or half-time position to our staff in addition to the attorney.
That's
And raise some salaries.
That's good to hear, because that's best practice to have a 3-month operating reserve. So congrats on that. I just wanted to check in because I know it's been challenging.
Can I brag? Do we have time for me to brag?
We got about 5 minutes left.
Great. I will fill it with bragging on the finance side. So we completely cleaned up our chart of accounts, which was a huge task, and we did that at the start of 24. So we just started with new books in 25. Our finance committee includes Peggy Driscoll, who was formerly with the Community Foundation Boulder County, who's an MBA in accounting, and the CFO from the Humane Society of Boulder County, Greg Feith, who was formerly the finance director at St. Vrain Valley School District, and Narciso Garibay from High Plains Bank. And they have been amazing with their support and helping us move things forward. We have new finance policies and a new investment policy that includes a reserve policy. And this will be the first year we'll be looking at the reserve as a part of the budget season.
Good.
Lisa, I have a question.
Oh, go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking a lot about finances, which kind of led me to this question. But did some of these changes and some of the things that you've just talked about in the last 3 or 4 minutes, did they come about because of internal ideas, restructuring board members? Was there an external audit performed in the finances that perpetuated some of these policies and changes, or how did that come about?
We do a financial review every year. We haven't exactly been a large enough organization to do an audit. They usually want you to have about $1 million in revenue before you do an audit. So probably need an audit next year or the year after. Mostly it was just a new ED, just me starting a new ED saying, wait, what's this chart of accounts mean? How do we make this more readable, more functional? How do we make it so that the board can more easily understand this and know what they're looking at? In addition, we have a fabulous person who was already on staff when I came on, who's a bookkeeper, and she was underutilized in the organization. So she really helped make the transition. We also brought our books in-house, so we're using QuickBooks Online. And we have an outside controller that looks at everything monthly. It was honestly just Isani and I deciding things just honestly have to be different, and finding the right folks to help move it along.
All right. If no other questions, thank you so much, Lisa and Riley, for being here tonight. Appreciate it. And have a great rest of your night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, have a good night.
So we have about 2 minutes. If anybody needs a bio break, I think I'm going to take a bio break. Maria's already here from our next guest, but we got about a minute. So I'm just going to take a quick bio break and be back. All right, I am back. Let's go ahead and let Belen and Maria in. They're from the Immigrant Legal Center, our next group. Hey, Belen. Hi, Maria. How are you?
Hi, how are you?
Good, good. Hey, I'm going to quickly introduce our board. We have a special guest tonight, and then I'm going to turn it over to you all to introduce yourselves, and then you have your 50 minutes to tell us what you're applying for in Longmont and what you're doing for the residents of Longmont. But let me introduce our board real quick, and then we'll turn it over to you. So first, we have Martha, who is our vice chair. We have Mark and Cassie and Robert, who's in the conference room, who are board members. This is Mark's first year, and Cassie and Rob have been a while. We have a special guest tonight. We have our city council member, Diane Christ, in the conference room. And then you know me, Liberto, and Amy is our human services program admin. With that said, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you. Tell us who you are. Tell us what you're doing in Longmont, and tell us what you're asking for.
Do you want me to go, Belen? Hi, everyone. My name is Maria Gordillo, and I am one of the legal representatives at the Immigrant Legal Center of Boulder County, and also the Director of Community Engagement.
And I'm Belen Parga Solis. I am another one of the other legal representatives at the Immigrant Legal Center. I've been there 11 years, and I am Director of Client Services as well.
So right now we are currently basically working directly a lot with the members of Longmont, community members of Longmont, who are needing immigration, basically assistance at low cost. Our majority of our clients come from Longmont, and we are mainly focusing on helping them and providing them with the legal assistance they need to move forward with their immigration cases. Belen, do you want to add anything to that?
Yes, so basically, we've been doing a lot of the same things that we've always done, help, like Maria said, our immigrant community members find legal assistance in a low cost. We all know private attorneys can be a little pricey sometimes, and unfortunately with the changes that we've been seeing with this administration regarding immigration, specifically immigration, there have been so many changes, things that we have to review so much now, when before maybe, you know, it was a pretty straightforward case, and today we're spending a lot more time reviewing and making sure that we are not putting that community member at risk by applying for an immigration benefit. So we are doing a lot of trainings, we're doing a lot of outreach with a lot of organizations, schools, just anyone that we can to be the most informed that we can be. And we're just continuing that work. And yes.
I just want to throw out there too. So mainly we've been working a lot with the Latino community, the majority from Mexico, Central America, but we are currently looking to expand and do more outreach with other underserved groups. We are working right now to build a little bit more of trust and look elsewhere in communities like the Asian community, Venezuelans, the Middle Eastern, just to get to know them a little bit more. And because obviously every immigrant from every country has different backgrounds. So we want to expand our knowledge and also how we can best partner with them and how we can also support them in the area of immigration, like we've been doing a lot with our Latino community right now. Do you want to add anything, Belen?
I had a thought, but then it just went away.
So yeah, let me help you a little bit. And I'm sure the board will have questions, but I just have a question. So you know, we've been hearing from folks, and we just heard. So tell us a little bit more about you're different than other agencies in the sense that you are basically there trying to help folks start the process. You're not necessarily a defense type of thing. You are helping folks get on the road to get either their residency, their long-term residency, or their their citizenship and or their DACA, you know, so that's your niche of where you fall on the continuum of services for immigrants in Longmont, correct?
Yes, and we actually we also go beyond just preparing forms and preparing the client. We are there throughout, like beginning to end. So we are their legal representatives. We do fill out the forms, we prepare them, but then we also track their case and we are keeping them up to date with any changes regarding their case. We are a little different in the sense that Maria and myself are Department of Justice legal representatives. So we went through accreditation to be able to basically be like mini attorneys. Without having to do the whole law school part. But we are partially accredited. So what that means is that the only place that we cannot do representation, legal representation, would be an immigration court. So we are currently not doing defensive work because one, we are partially accredited, and second, we focus on what our community needs. And for the most part, defense legal representation hasn't been a majority of cases. Obviously, there are some here and there, but what we're seeing, we're not seeing those types of cases as much. So that's the little bit of difference with us, is that we are there beginning to end, and we just don't do immigration court or defense work with the court.
Okay. I just wanted to clarify, see where your niche. Like, I understand there's a curriculum of, or curriculum, a continuum of services, legal services, and I kind of wanted to understand where you all fit. So you're projecting around 250 households that you'll support in 2020, and you're asking for 19, which is mainly for your staff, for your accredited representatives, right?
Yes, we actually excitingly have a third representative in training. She's actually, I believe this week or next week, will be sending off her application for accreditation. She has been training in-house with Maria and myself and our attorney, Laurel Herndon, for the last couple of months. She's been there for about a year now, just doing some training. So we're excited that we're hopefully soon we'll have a third legal representative on our staff team.
All right. I must check in with the board, see if they don't have any questions, because I do have questions on the stuff that I evaluate, but I'll let the board see if they have any questions first.
Rob has a question.
Okay, go ahead, Rob.
It's my understanding that the immigration courts are not very common, or at least rare, but the judges there aren't enough. There's backup of cases that's lasting years, and it doesn't look like there's going to be any more judges assigned, or, you know. So I'm just wondering how big a lead. I mean, when you're dealing with these, are you talking years now to solve their problems, or can you solve things in some other ways other than trying to get your case onto these overloaded immigration courts? I'm just curious about, given the fact that there aren't enough courts, you can't do anything if you can't get in. You know?
Right. No, yeah, and we actually have focused a lot on even just having consultations to inform people of the fact that they could be waiting years. And so looking at the long run, is it a good thing to apply now, knowing that it could take years? How much of a risk is it if they apply knowing that they won't have a benefit soon? Obviously, we are definitely tied down to what the federal government, how the federal government works. And like you said, in many cases, specifically immigration court, these cases will be taking years. And we also have cases with USCIS, which is U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, that take years as well. And so we are monitoring those. We are informing the community as much we can, even when we cannot legally represent, let's say, for example, in immigration court. But at least the people that we are having consultations with know that what the process is. Because a lot of the times they kind of go in blind. They don't get the information in a way that they are able to understand it. So at least we know that people who we are talking to know that, yes, it's going to take some time, but they know why, if that makes sense.
I'm gonna change gears really quickly. I mean, I know we're talking about the program, but I'm gonna change gears real quick. So what I do, Belen and Maria, is I look at your finances. I look at your, I review the budget you provide. If you have an audit, I'll look at audit. I'll look at your year-end financials. And I just had a quick question. I mean, I was an interesting read when I read your application. You talk about, you've done really well in creating your own revenue, right? In your like with what you with your clients, and that makes a quite a bit of your funding. Talk to me about, are there concerns as we get into this economic foreseeable future of your clients being able to pay, and what other strategies you may be thinking to really potentially backfill, because that it's $200,000 of your overall budget is income from your operations. And so just wondering what you're thinking about that.
Do you want to answer that, Maria?
Yeah. So to be really honest with you, the majority of our clients that come to us do struggle with the government fees. So obviously we can't really help much with that. But for us, we do try our best to keep it at the low cost as it is. And obviously there's also a lot of pro bono that we do in the house. We don't charge people for certain things depending on size household. So we have talked about, how the future will look for us as an organization if funding, we run out of funding and stuff like that. And right now, to be honest, the only thing that's kind of like we're looking up, like forward to, is the income that we're making out of consultations. And that's what's keeping us going for now, because the funding is going down. It's been going down, I want to say, since COVID. We have seen a very huge decrease on funding. So we are trying our best to stay open because of consultations and legal fees.
And unfortunately, this might mean, like, when our funding is down, it might mean that we have to up our prices. And unfortunately, that may be something that we need to do. But our mission is always to not have to charge so much. And so trying to find a balance right now is kind of difficult. But for the most part, I think, are getting referrals from previous clients. And for the most part, they're happy with the type of discounts that we provide, because we do like a sliding scale. But a lot of our funding also, just like Maria said, does come from our consultations. Our majority are DACA applications. Citizenship right now is one of the most common applications, and so we're looking there. But to be honest with you, a lot of individual donations have come up a little bit more in the last couple of months, but obviously not enough to just have, like, lean on individual donations.
Okay. I just wanted to check because I noticed that in your budget. All right. Any other questions for Maria or Belen?
So I was a little bit confused by what legal services could be being brought if you don't do immigration court and you don't do like some of the other like legal things. Are you like filling the gap? So for instance, I see a lot of kids who didn't even know that they were undocumented, and they find out when they're like applying to college and they don't have a birth certificate. Is that like the segment you're helping, or? I'm just trying to get a feel for the age range and the circumstance of this middle area.
So our main focus is family law immigration. So we focus a lot on like family petitions, bringing a spouse or children from another country. We work directly with the National Visa Center. We do DACA renewals. We do like, I would say for immigration, like the basics of immigration. But the thing is confusing in general. Immigration has different departments. So our main department is USCIS. And then the department that we're now working with is with Immigration Court, which is the Department of State. That's a whole different department. Am I right, Belen?
Department of Justice, yeah.
The Department of Justice, I'm sorry.
So the thing is, because of the clientele that we already have, for example, we're going back to our DACA recipients. Some of those recipients had younger siblings that weren't able to apply, and now that it's reopening, then they're finding out that they can apply because their older sibling keeps up with the DACA information. Another way that people find out is because we have that relationship, let's say, for example, with the schools, someone from a student goes and talks to a teacher, that teacher knows that we have that partnership, so they email us, and then we then talk through what can be done. And a lot of our clients come from referrals from family members. Sometimes we deal with a family for 10 years. We start with the parent and end up with the grandchild and a cousin of a friend. And so we definitely have been, blessed with the fact that our clients trust us and they send a lot of people our way. But we haven't just built that trust with individuals, but we've built it with the schools and our community, with, the courts. They send a lot of referrals our ways. Other organizations have been sending people our way. So I think that's where we kind of fill in with our consultations and the clients and those ages. That's why they're so all over the place, basically.
Just as a follow-up, for the needs you can't meet, who do you refer to?
So for the most part, when we know it's like defense work or immigration court, we refer to a private attorney that is part of ALA, which is American Immigration Lawyers Association. So we also have partnerships with private attorneys that, have some promise to not charge as much if they're referred by us. But we definitely refer to people to private attorneys that we know are currently handling those specific cases.
All right, so we are actually at time. So thank you very much, Maria and Belen, for your time. Appreciate it. If the board has any follow-up questions, I will follow up. So have a good evening.
Thank you. You as well.
Good night.
Bye, thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
So folks, we have another situation. It's happened once in a while. We are checking with our next agency. Amy emailed them and sent them a reminder. And of course, she sent the invitation. It doesn't seem that they accepted. So that I'm not sure if that means that it went to their junk file. So, typically what happens if we have the wrong email, and if it's on our side, we will reschedule. So I might ask for another 50 minutes of your time. If we've done all our due diligence and did it right, then that agency will be disqualified from funding, because this is a mandatory hearing. So Amy is following. If they can come in a little bit later, then that's fine. We'll allow them to do that. But that's been typically how it works. Because Amy did reach out to all these agencies and sent them invites, and so we'll see if they show up.
So I just sent them a follow-up email, so hopefully they respond. Maybe something happened, so I'm hoping that all is well with them. But as of right now, I haven't gotten a response.
Right. So typically, if it's our fault, then we will ask some time from you all, and we're appreciative of it. If it's not our fault, if we did our due diligence and we reach out to them, then oh, and he actually said he would be able to attend. Did we? Yeah, we give him the right time.
Correct.
So so more than likely that agency will be disqualified because they are not here, and we in the email it says he would be able to attend unless or if he's having technical difficulties, and that's tonight, then that's another, we can have a conversation. We can let them come in once they figure it out.
Or
So
sometimes they ask if we can send like the invite to someone else, but since I haven't gotten that email, I just asked them right now if there's another email we can send it to, but.
yeah, but he did respond back in September that he would be able to attend.
Right.
Which agency is this?
Rocky Mountain
Rocky
Legal Center.
Mountain, yes.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
So,
Oh, yeah,
we
yeah.
have a confirmation. We do have a confirmation email from him saying that he was going to be here. So it sounds like we did our part correctly, unless he can't get into the invite, which sometimes does happen, and we'll figure that out. So we have a little bit of a break until our last agency. Wait, is it our last, or do we have? No, we have two more agencies. After that, our next agency is at 7:45. And then we have our last at 8. So you get about 8-minute break to do what you need to do. All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I'm gonna go try and scarf my dinner.
All right, folks, it's 7:44, and she was here, she was online, and now she dropped out. Our next guest was online. I saw her, so hopefully
She's still online, Emily?
Yeah, how come I'm not seeing her at all?
I'm not sure, but we can see her in the lobby.
All right, why don't you go ahead and let her in then, because I'm not seeing her at all.
Okay.
Oh, there she is. Okay. All right. Good evening, Emily. Thank you for joining us. So, Emily, you've done this before. You know how it works. I'm going to quickly introduce our board. We have a special guest tonight, and then we're going to turn it over for you to tell us your story and what exactly you're applying for in this year's 2026 Human Services Fund application. Let me start with our board members. First of all, we have our vice chair, Martha Wilson. We have Mark, who's a new board member. This is his first year. We have Cassie and Rob is in the conference room, as they've been doing this for a while. We have a special guest tonight. We have Council Member Diane Christ joining us in the conference room tonight. And of course, you know me and Amy, we are Human Services staff, and we help facilitate this process. So why don't we get started? Why don't you tell us who you are and tell us what your agency does, what you're applying for this year.
Thank you again for having us. It's great to be back once again. I know there's new people on the call today, so I'm going to just tell you a little brief history and then explain what we do and what your funding would be supporting us for the new year. So the Reentry Initiative was launched in 2016 to fill the critical gaps in reentry services, specifically for women returning from incarceration. At that time, there were very few programs available that was gender responsive, trauma informed, and tailored to the unique needs and challenges faced by a justice-involved individual. But since then, TRI's evolved into a comprehensive wraparound service agency that we provide critical care to justice-involved individuals, typically coming from probation or parole in Boulder County and actually rural surrounding areas. We're finding a lot more people coming in from the outskirts of the Boulder County area bleeding into Weld and Larimer County. So what we do at TRI, or I should say mention, is since you have been funding us, we have been able to serve over 350 members in the community, and that number is still growing. And some of these members we've learned are going to be staying with us for quite some time, not because they're on paper, but because they still have reentry needs, even being off supervision and not involved in the justice system. What we've learned with your support over the past few years is that there's 3 phases to reentry. We have our week 1 or our month 1, I will say, which is our immediate barriers. Those are those first days after release where we have to support people with linking them to housing and getting them employed. And most of our members are eagerly ready to be employed, but the barriers of not being offered safe housing or affordable housing, as well as their criminal background, impeding that process as well as employment makes that difficult. Over time, we work through that, but in that stage, that's where we can see someone in reentry make or break their reentry process. And that's where you could see a high rate of return to prison or jail. The months ongoing become the ongoing process. That's stage 2 or phase 2. And that's where we see a pressure of the reentry or the person in reentry having to deal with compliance requirements like going to treatment, meeting with parole officers. They'll get random drug testing, which interferes with their job, their work schedules. With very little notice, they have to stop and go over. And then on top of that, even can interrupt caregiving responsibilities, which leads to childcare issues, especially for single mothers who don't have a lot of support. It's hard to juggle all this. So these overlapping obligations can really feel like a full-time job on top of everything else that they're balancing. But what we've learned is the longer we stay engaged in the supports that we offer through our 2 programs, which I'll explain in a moment, is even after they're off paper, their crimes and their challenges actually become even more visible. What we see is the scarlet letter effect, where their record continues to follow them. So if we're not in the picture, they struggle to find continued safe and stable housing or employment. We find a lot of career stagnation. Keep in mind, a lot of these people were pulled out of their working industry earning years. So what we find is that they've never either got the foundational skills to hold a career, or they have been removed at the time where they could actually make some economic mobility. So again, they're climbing up through the job ladder to try to get even a job with benefits or leader responsibilities, and that can be a very long challenge. And then, of course, there's the unresolved trauma that sticks with you unless properly healed, and that takes time. So that's why our model works and why it matters and why your funding has been critical in making this happen. We have 2 pillars at the Reentry Initiative. We have the first pillar, which is our Welcome Back Center. That's a peer-led support center that the 2 members or the 2 staff that run it were actually members and successfully got off probation or parole and went through peer certification training, an internship with TRI, and then have now been running our Welcome Back Center shoulder to shoulder with supervision from myself. They're our first point of contact to our members, which makes them feel safe. It gives them someone across in the chair or the chair across from them that makes them realize that there is a possibility after incarceration. It's also an incentive-based program that we celebrate every success. And we've learned that members don't have a lot of people cheering them on. So our ability to provide gift cards and success gifts to acknowledge and recognize they took a crucial step in their self-sufficiency has been very impactful to our members. We also do direct support, all the basic hygiene, the basic supports, education, vocational, and career possibilities and support in financial ways. But the second pillar, and this is where City of Longmont's funding is critical, is our wellness center. We've learned that our members struggle bouncing around to all these appointments. So we brought in a licensed social worker, we brought in licensed social workers to lead our wellness center, and they offer our individual and group therapy as well as lifestyle focused healing. And that really looks at exercise and nutrition, preventative and proactive healthcare, dance, art, music, and movement experiences, spiritual exploration, and purpose building. And those parts are critical in anybody's life to feel part of your community. And that's where we see the most amazing movement in our members. And what that does for the members is they don't have to bounce around anymore. Their life becomes simpler because they come to us and they have their peer in one office, their therapist in another, their community downstairs or right around us. And by downstairs, I mean we partner with Recovery Cafe, we partner with Hazelbrook Sober Living. So we are tapped into where they're living and where they're spending their free time or leisure time. The other thing that we offer, the values we offer around these programs that make it possible, is the value of care management versus case management. Anybody can case management. It looks like giving someone an application, maybe giving them a resource, but it doesn't really dig into what's behind the motivations or the barriers. So what care management does is we tap into the fears and the barriers and the struggles of our clients. And I wanted to share just a story of where this came into act. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, I mean, we are got about 6 minutes left, and I want to make sure the board has time to ask questions. But thank you for all that you've told us so far. Does the board have any questions?
This is really simple, but I think you said they're off paper. What exactly?
Yes, off paper.
This administration has been firing a lot of government people. And I'm assuming a lot of them have experience that's not translatable into the real world as opposed to the government world. Are you seeing anything like that happening? Where you're seeing people who have been laid off and have had important jobs but no longer fit at all?
We actually haven't seen that.
Yeah, and so Rob, thank you for that question. But I want to go back to make sure Cassie gets her clarification about off paper. I think I know what it means, but Emily,
I think I do too. But
oh, okay. Off paper means that they are no longer under the supervision of the state or the county, either through probation or parole.
Thank you very much.
So they've completed their
requirements.
Hey, McKenna, can you come back in a little bit? Thank you. No worries. So Emily, so I do have a question because I know we're running out of time, but I do have, and we talked about this at the site visit. And I just, the ask is pretty big this year.
Yes.
And to me, that always brings up the concern, right? About, Longmont's in the hard position, right? With our Human Services Fund. I think like all other city governments, we're going to have a slight increase this year, but of course, like last year, we are in a position where the requests really outpace the resource. So talk to us about, we had a little conversation during the site visit, but talk to us real quick about what the board, what the leadership is doing to make sure that you become more sustainable and are able to continue the wonderful work that you do.
That's a great question and fair. Yes, we did aim for the stars this year, but I do want to reassure you that I have currently another grant that I'm waiting on to hear. And so we are totally aware that we're not going to get the full amount that we requested. And I understand the parameters of what you're under as far as a lot of nonprofits. Our fundraising plan is highly robust. I want to reassure you that we have over 3 months of reserves in our bank account. We have active grants right now that support the Welcome Back Center completely, and our Wellness Center is fully covered all the way through the next quarter. So what we're doing now is piecing in our new grants for the year. There's one large grant from the Colorado Health Foundation that I was unable to apply for until February, but I'm reapplying again, and that's a 2-year grant to support.
Awesome. Any other questions from the board?
No, I was just gonna offer the same kind of reality check with the amount of money, like $131,000 when only 53 Longmont people were served. Like, I think it would translate more to my brain if I knew exactly what it was going for per person. So
okay.
I'm familiar with Hazelbrook. That's like $700 a month to be in there. Is it going to that funding? Like, what per person are we talking about?
Well, we do individualized care, so everybody's care looks different. But yes, the support, the dollars go to in the incentives that we provide when they achieve accomplishments. It goes to housing when they need rent assistance at Hazelbrook. And because it's $700 a month, Hazelbrook and I have an agreement that we can't pay the full month because we need to stretch the dollars as far as we can go. So yes, it covers some salary and then it goes to the members. I can't give you $1 per member because again, it's all individualized and we do it that way because it's based on their need, not like we don't do a flat rate to everybody because everybody's a little bit different.
All right. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure we had that conversation because you and I had that conversation at the site visit. But any other questions from the board? All right. If not, we got 2 minutes. Tell us that story you're going to tell us.
Well, it's actually with a member who, so our peer our peer staff, Brandy, it was her first member she ever started working for, and she helped them become a peer certified mentor as well. And then that person went on to another company to work, and he was having trouble, and there was a miscommunication. And so care management is where he came, instead of giving up and walking away from the job, he came back and talked to us, and with Brandy's coaching and support, cleared the air. He retained his job, he retained his housing, and there hasn't been a problem since. So we just take that extra step, and that's what I was trying to explain.
All right. Thank you so much, Emily.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
all the work that you do in Longmont, and have a great rest of your night.
Thanks, you too.
Thanks, bye.
Bye.
Bye. All right, McKenna and Jessica, are you both from? Oh, what is that?
Sorry about that. That was me. Hi.
Oh, both are from CASA?
Yes, yeah, we are both with Voices for Children, CASA Boulder County, and we have 2 colleagues who will be hopping on here in just a moment, but we can go ahead and get started.
All right, then. Well, okay. Well, you're the last agency for the evening. So I will. Hey, Margaret. Nice to see you again. I'm going to introduce our board members, and we have a special guest tonight. I'm really excited about that. They don't always join us, so super excited about that. And then we will turn it over to you all for you to tell us your story and what you're applying for this year's funding. So let me start with our board. We have our vice chair tonight with us. Martha Wilson is here. We have Mark, who's a new board member. And then we have Cassie and Rob, who's in the conference room, who's been a board member for a while. And tonight we have a special guest. We have City Council member Diane Chris with us tonight. Really happy to have her. And then you have myself and Amy, who are human service program staff that help facilitate this process. And so we're going to turn it over to you to introduce yourselves and tell us your story and tell us what you're applying for tonight for human services funding.
Great, thank you so much. We can start with introductions. My name is McKenna Wood, and I get to be the development manager for Voices for Children. Been here since 2023. And I oversee grant management, donor database management, and help out with our marketing and communications. Jenny, do you want to go next?
Sure, thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Jenny Casson. I'm the program officer here at Voices for Children. I've been with the program for almost 5 years now, and my role is to oversee our volunteer base as well as our staff of advocate supervisors, as well as our training, much of our recruitment and partnerships with external stakeholders. Thanks for chatting with us this evening. I'll pass it over to Jessica.
Good evening. Thank you so much for having us. I am Jessica Schultz, and I get to be the development officer with Voices for Children, CASA of Boulder County. So I oversee all of the fundraising, marketing, communications. I get to work really closely with McKenna on grants management, the database piece, as well as communications, and work really closely with Margaret and Jenny as well on fundraising and strategic planning. So really grateful to be part of this team for a little over 2 years.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Alberto. So good to see you, my friend. I am Margaret Backrack, and I'm the CEO of Voices for Children, CASA Boulder County. I have been with the organization almost 3 years. My third CASA program, and I have to tell you, maybe somewhat biased, but probably not, in the sense of the work that we do that truly serves the most vulnerable children in Boulder County that truly benefit from a stable adult in their world. And we are so grateful to be here again. And thank you all for your time. My goodness, 8 o'clock at night, I'm sure you're about ready to go home. So we truly value the opportunity to share more about our critical, impactful work. So thank you.
So I understand we have a little bit of time to present on the organization. We do have a slideshow. I'm happy to share it, but if you prefer, we can also just.
It's up to you. That's fine. Yeah, go ahead.
One moment, please. Great. Can you all see the presentation screen?
Yep.
Great. Jenny, if you want to take it away.
Perfect. Thanks, McKenna. Okay, so our mission at Voices for Children, CASA of Boulder County, is to build a healthier community by delivering services, support, and advocacy to children who've experienced trauma. And the way that we do that is by leveraging community member volunteers to provide that best interest advocacy for vulnerable children who've experienced abuse and neglect in Boulder County. This is a little bit of our history. We turned 40 years old this year, which is super exciting. We have been serving all of Boulder County since 1985. But before that, the National CASA program was established really to pull in volunteers who could get to know kids who were going through the court system, who had experienced abuse and neglect. And then those volunteers would be able to provide information to the judge presiding over the court case so that that judge could help make best interest decisions about those children. We are also part of the Colorado CASA organization, which was founded just before us in 1984. And so we're lucky to have partnerships with National and Colorado CASA. So a CASA, it stands for Court Appointed Special Advocate. Our CASAs are volunteers who are ordered and appointed by a judge to advocate for kids' best interests. And I'll get into this a little bit later, but all of the kids we serve have experienced some type of abuse or neglect. We get to serve all ages. Any child who is 0 to 18 who's experienced abuse or neglect and is involved in the court system is eligible for CASA advocacy within Boulder County. So we have a great partnership with our magistrate here in Boulder County. We have a great partnership with the Boulder County Department of Human Services to be able to provide volunteer advocates for those children.
I'm just going to skip ahead, Jenny, so we can talk about our statistics.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you, McKenna. Okay, so last year we were able to serve 275 kids throughout Boulder County. We had 192 CASA volunteers, which is fantastic. Those numbers are up from last year. We were able to recruit more volunteers and serve more children. And the lion's share of our children that we serve are in the Longmont area. So we love getting to be able to serve that community. This is a breakdown of children served. So just over half, as I mentioned, of the kids we serve are located in Longmont. And our data shows that just over a third of kids who we serve identify as Hispanic, and then 2/3 non-Hispanic. On the bottom of this slide is a breakdown of types of abuse or neglect that we saw last year. So the majority is of our kids have experienced neglect, and really what that looks like is substance use with parents. So kids who are being neglected because of parental substance use. Domestic violence, physical abuse as well, and then sexual abuse is a little bit smaller bucket, but we did see that last year. And we also serve truancy cases, so we partner with the St. Vrain Valley School District to provide volunteer advocates for children who are struggling to attend school. So this is really our impact slide. The reason that CASA volunteers make a difference in our community, research shows that children who've experienced trauma are at a greater risk for a whole host of negative outcomes, including mental health and substance use difficulties of their own, self-harm, attempted or completed suicide. We see pretty significantly lower attendance rates and higher dropout rates for kids who've experienced abuse or neglect and are in foster care. But we also know that kids with a CASA volunteer are more likely to find a safe, permanent home. They spend less time in foster care overall, and in general have access to more services and supports within the community.
So speaking about Voices for Children in particular and the work that we've done, as we mentioned before, this is our 40th anniversary this year. So we're so honored to have that opportunity to continue serving the community for that long. We have several exciting program expansions that we've started. One is the trust-based relational intervention training. So this is kind of an extension of the training we already offer our CASA volunteers, but trust-based relational intervention, or TBRI, is really focused on the way that trauma impacts a child's mind, their brain, and how that trauma might manifest in their behaviors. And so then our CASAs, with this understanding, are better prepared to address those behaviors and help these children achieve more stable relationships, and moving forward, help them interact with their feelings in a little bit of a healthier way. We also, working with the St. Vrain Valley School District and Boulder Valley School District, started a truancy prevention program. And this really came with conversations with the county and the courts about where they were seeing gaps in the community. We know that when a child gets to the level of being involved in the court, things can tend to drag on a little bit more. So this program is really intended to get to children before they reach the point of court involvement. And so children are referred to us by the school. We have specially trained educational advocates who will then step in and try to fill those gaps in what we're seeing and try to get to the root of why the child isn't getting to class, to school, and then see what resources they can provide. Looking, and these next numbers are on our fiscal year. I know y'all operate on a calendar year with the funding, but just some things to point out. 54 new CASA volunteers sworn in. And then these next two, I wanted to highlight because they were a part of our outcomes from our last HSF contract, but 64% of youth received advocacy for community connections. So this includes their extracurricular activities. And then 94% of youth received developmental advocacy. So that's CASA volunteers going before the court and advocating for these children's needs. Looking at our challenges moving forward, I'm sure you've heard a lot of this tonight. Cuts to federal funding. Our Victims of Crime Act funding in particular received pretty significant cuts. So we're trying to diversify our revenue streams and identify other funders to try to fill in those gaps.
So McKenna, I'm going to stop you right there because we are at 8:11, and I just want to make sure that if there's any questions from the board that they can ask it.
Absolutely.
So I think a quick question. There was one slide where you said the children who work with the volunteers are more likely, and you had a number of things. How do you know that? Is that from a survey, or I think it was your third slide?
Yeah, great question. That's from research done by National CASA.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I was curious about if you keep track of how many children with special needs that you work with and advocate for.
We do, yes, that's a great question. We do track special needs, including children who have cognitive or developmental delays. We do track speech, language, hearing impairment, and we also track autism for our internal purposes and also for a handful of other grants as well.
Is that not a number you want to share?
Sorry. I don't have that number off the top of my head. I'm sorry.
Oh.
If you can send it to me, I can send it to the board.
That'd be great. Yeah.
Any other questions to CASA? I think I had a question, but I think you already addressed it because as you all know, I always look at the finance at the agency budget and just the financial ability and I guess this question is for Margaret, right? To think about what is your board as you're seeing these potential funding cuts? What kind of work is the board putting into ensuring sustainability and the continued operation of the organization?
Your timing is impeccable. So yesterday we actually had our board retreat. And so what's really valuable to our organization, not only is our board extremely connected to the mission and truly look more like the children we serve, if you will, they also are very, very invested in helping us diversify funding. Alberto, knowing that 49% of our funding is grant funding, and there's a huge risk, right? We don't know what's around the corner. We already know that VOCA, which was mentioned, was already cut by 35% of what we had budgeted. So our board of directors is truly not only, like I said, invested in the mission, but in helping us absolutely diversify our funding. And the challenge in Boulder, and it's funny, I was talking to an individual this evening about funding in Boulder County. One would think that Boulder County, being a very prosperous community, would be very philanthropic. The beauty for our organization is their volunteer rate is far higher than the national average. However, in the 64 counties in Colorado, Boulder ranks 44th percentile in terms of charitable giving. So there is a huge focus for our organization, right? We're just 3+ months into our current fiscal year, and we've got to, really figure out a way just in case, right? We lose even more funding. And right now we know it's upwards of $200,000 of what we have budgeted. And so our board, back to your original question, is really committed to making sure that one, we're able to continue this for the next 40 years. And two, it's a commitment to the children in our community that are so valuable and really reflect our future generation.
All right. Well, we are at time, and I need to talk to the board real quick. So thank you very much for your work and all that you do. And yeah, if you can get us those numbers I can send to the board, that would be great.
Yeah. Please let us know also if there are any other metrics that you would like to learn a little bit more about. We're happy to provide all the information we have.
I did have a quick comment that I appreciate how responsive you were when you came last time. I think I was a little targeted with the lack of diversity, but whatever training that your CASA workers have done in the last 2 years, you are seeing that translate into the courtroom, into building a more solid bond and relationship and advocacy of not just what the child wants, but what the child actually needs to thrive.
Rather, that is very gratifying to hear. We love feedback in all forms. So if there's anything else you're willing to share with us, truly, we would love to hear it. But thank you so much for sharing that. That means a lot.
Thank you all.
All right. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you. Good night.
So folks, this does happen too. Sometimes like we had this happen at our education one, or one of our mental health ones. So Mike is in the waiting room. He was confused, but we said if you can do it tonight, we would let him in. So I'm going to ask for just an extra 15 minutes of your time so we can do Rocky Mountain Legal Center tonight, and that way we can consider his application. He responded us really quickly saying that he confused it and he was sorry, but that he could do it tonight. So we have one last one for 15 minutes, and that's Rocky Mountain Legal Center. I'm going to go ahead and let him in now. Mike, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Well, I'm happy you read your email, because if you hadn't gotten that email, we wouldn't have been able to consider you.
I appreciate that so much, and I'm so sorry, and thank you so much for the opportunity to come in late here. I'm actually still working, so it worked out perfect. So
good thing you were in the office. That's great. So Mike, real quick, I'm going to introduce our board members, and we have a real special guest tonight. And then we're going to turn it over to you to tell us what you're applying for the City of Longmont. So first, let me start with our vice chair, Martha Wilson is here. We have Mark, who is a brand new board member, and we have Cassie and Robert, who are doing this for a while. They know what they're doing. And we have a real special guest tonight. We have Council Member Diane Chris tonight. And of course, you know me and Amy, our Human Services admin staff. Mike, tell us what you're asking for, what you do in Longmont, and then we have questions. We'll follow up with that.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, we're asking for $15,000 for free and low-cost legal services for Longmont residents. This year, we're going to assist at least 100 Longmont residents with all kinds of things from bankruptcy, family law, end-of-life planning. We've got a lot of new, interesting immigration cases that we're working on with City of Longmont residents. And so all of additional funding would certainly help us assist more City of Longmont residents, and probably going to see 125 to 150 direct residents receive free legal services next year, according to our projections.
So Mike, tell us about, it sounds like you have a big spread of stuff that you do. Can you break down for us what's the most common type of service you provide in Longmont?
This year,
what's the most?
This year, primarily of the people, I keep a monthly spreadsheet of all of our City of Longmont residents and the type of law that we assist them with, age, gender, economic status, if I know it. All kinds of things on the spreadsheet that I've shared with you. Primarily this year, it's been with estate planning, because we did 2 estate planning seminars over at the Longmont Community Center, primarily for Spanish-speaking people. So we had 22 people that we helped through that, create end-of-life plans, powers of attorneys, medical directives, wills. Some of these people owned their houses, actually, but were still living on a fixed Social Security, low income, and needed to have their future affairs set up. So that was a big part of the 100 people we've helped so far. and immigration and family law are the two other main areas. So I would say in that order: estate planning, immigration, and family law.
And you're in Lafayette, Mike. How do folks find out about you? I mean, I know, Colorado Legal Aid, they've been around forever. Bristol Justice has been around for a while. How do folks find out about Rocky Mountain Legal Center in Longmont? Because your office is in Lafayette, right?
Sure. Well, we've been around forever too, 16 years in Lafayette, and through word of mouth and all of our collaborative relationships there in Longmont, we get a ton of referrals. We probably get a referral a week from the Longmont Senior Center and the Longmont Community Center.
Okay. All right. Any questions from the board? And how much are you applying for this year, Mike? You said 15,000, right?
I believe it was 15. Yes.
Okay. And that's and that covers what in particular?
In particular, we kind of break it down to about $70 per hour per client is how we sort of gauge our funding. So, for example,
okay, so mainly staff time.
Yeah, staff time mainly. Yeah. So we've also done a handful of bankruptcies for city residents this year, primarily older people that are no longer working, that are about to be displaced from their homes, that unfortunately got in over their heads with credit cards. Typically, we charge a flat fee of $800. This is how we do our math. $800 would be our typical low-cost flat fee to do a bankruptcy for somebody. Takes us about 5 hours of work up front to do that, and then we have to go to court twice on that. So overall, it averages out to about $70 an hour for what we do for somebody. And then those 5 City of Longmont residents, we did those for free through this grant program.
Okay.
So basically $70 an hour is sort of how we gauge the value of what we provide. And that's kind of what we'd like to see back in funding to help give free services to people sort of on that dollar per hour rate. Okay. So at $15,000, that would allow us to serve 150 Longmont residents with direct free legal services. Some of them would be an hour, some of them could be up to 8 to 10 hours, depending on what the legal issue is.
Well, that's pretty straightforward.
So actually, I have a quick question. So
Yeah,
are you saying that you're going to add people besides the ones that pay the $70, or you want to do it all for free now? I'm a little confused. Maybe it's too late for me.
Sorry for the confusion. No. The residents of Longmont that we help are all for free, but we value our services at $70 per hour, which is outrageously low for any other attorney in the industry. So
less
when
than
we ask for grant money, we're really asking for grant money at a $70 per hour rate to give free services to people.
Yeah, that makes sense now. Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's less than a plumber. So
it is. It is.
Mike, on the clients that you help, how are they screened as far as income levels and things like that? I mean, are you intaking, and I mean, how are you accepting clients? You're not accepting everybody, I'm sure, but there's got to be some thresholds there, correct?
Yeah, we do accept everybody that comes our way, or we try to, but we do screen everybody for income to get free services. And our benchmark and bar is 150% of the poverty level.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Yeah, that was what I was looking for. Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions for Mike? So Mike, I do have a question, because so as you know, like the board looks at the program, what the services you're offering, and as you know, because we've talked about this before, I look at the agency. Talk to me. I'm sure the need is growing, but the resources are less. What are you all doing to maintain that sustainability and that ability to continue to operate?
Well, we're well funded. We have a very substantial reserve account, and we're about to hire 2 more staff members actually. So we have 5.
Oh
staff
wow, you're growing that
now,
fast.
and I'm about to hire another full-time attorney here because of the reserve account that we have. We're in a position now to be able to do that.
And is that mainly donations, grants? What's?
All donations and grants. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, that's good to hear that you got a strong reserve. As someone who looks at this, I always love hearing that. So, all right. Any other questions from the board? All right. Well, Mike, I'm happy that we
just give you a picture. I guess it's always been, we've been here for 16 years, and it's been my goal and objective, and we've met it every year, to put at least $10,000 into our reserve account. So we have a significant reserve account that we have not tapped into in 16 years. So now we're going to hire a lawyer and pay a salary. So
well, good for you.
Yeah.
Well, Mike, I'm just happy that you were still at work and we were able to get a hold of you. Appreciate you joining us here at the end. And if the board has any follow-up questions, I will follow up with you.
Well, thank you so much, and I apologize for the miscommunication about my timing tonight, and thanks again for the opportunity to talk to y'all.
All right, have a good night, Mike.
Good night.
We'll see y'all. Good night.
All right, board, thank you for another great evening. That was our last one. You've been really awesome through this process. Again, quick reminder, I need scores by the 31st if possible, so that I can do Amy and I can do, Amy will be my checker, making sure I got this right, because there's a lot of scores to tabulate. And then on the 13th, at our regular board meeting, I will present you options on how what recommendations we send to council. So thank you all for being here.
Quick
Yes,
question.
Cassie.
Do you want us to send the scores when we're all done, or do you want them piecemeal, or does it matter?
You can be sending them to Amy right now. That is fine. However you want to do it, whatever makes most sense for you. We sent you all the spreadsheets. You should all have them. And yeah, whenever you're ready, you can send them. And what I'm going to ask Amy to do right away is turn them into PDFs, so we don't type something differently in there accidentally. But yeah, whenever you want to send it to Amy, you can. I know Rob's turning them in person, and that's fine. So yeah, that if you have them, you can start sending them to Amy now.
All right.
Obviously I don't have the ones from today. But I missed on Saturday. I was at the protests. But is that on?
Amy, how close are we to getting that on the YouTube?
That should be on our YouTube page. So you just search City of Longmont on the channel. It should be on there.
Okay. I looked later that day, but it might have just been too soon.
Yeah,
I didn't stay late that day, so check now. It should be up.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
All right. Anything else?
Okay.
I thank you all and have a great rest of your night. This is our last hearing, so you did it, Mark. You got through the first process. All right. Thanks, everybody.
I'm going to have a drink. Bye.
Good night.